What's up, guys? Our wrestling podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious along with Jess the Total Package, Craig the British Bulldog, Joe and Cuz are out this week, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling.
Good.
No
Don't
inside
need
sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Can someone feed me today's topic?
Dave and Craig, we're going to cover the WrestleMania that kind of kicked off the Attitude Era when you really look back at it. WrestleMania 14.
Talking about something that changes the world. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on...
Got to be his time, right? Like, it's got to be. I'd never felt anything like that since Hogan. And so finally I felt it with Austin as a fan. And I'm like, oh my God, like something's going to happen. You got Tyson bringing in the casual fans, bringing in the mainstream media, just like T did back in the day. So you got those people now in your corner. And then you have this guy, this Hogan-esque guy that's getting the young people, getting the men and women. And like, it's just kind of, he was motivating everybody. And then if you did read the dirt sheets back here, which they were still on the internet in their infancy, as far as the internet's concerned, you knew that Michaels had been a problem, that he had a lot of injury problems, that a lot of people didn't know if he was going to make the show because of his back. You had all that drama, like, and you're like, oh,
and I should say it wasn't so much dirt sheets as it was newsletters, right?
Right. Yeah. And they were they were learning how to use the internet rather than mailing out their newsletters. They were learning how to like use this .com thing. Like, whatever that is.
March 29th, 1998 at the Fleetwood Center in Boston, Massachusetts. The attendance is 19,028 people. Our buy rate is 730,000. And the tagline is the greatest pay-per-view attraction of all time.
That seems lazy, but okay, we'll take it.
We got Mike Tyson. I think it's...
That's like Vince just yelling at a conference room in like the March before.
The greatest! Our commentators are
someone
Jim
wrote
Ross.
it down. They're like, he'll love this. He'll love this. He said it.
Watch.
Wait, did you hear him say? Vince said
VK.
He wants it to be the greatest pay-per-view attraction of all time, so we put it on the poster.
There you go. There it is. Perfect.
Where'd you get this garbage from? You said it. I like it.
Then it's good.
Only a complete dumb fuck would say something like this.
You said it last week, Vince.
Which was my test to you to make sure that you're paying attention, and you were. Put it on the fucking poster. And shut up.
See you guys in Boston.
I will own it forever. See you in Mass.
I'm late for my
Our
workout.
commentators are Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler. Our interviewer is Kevin Kelly, and our announcer is Howard Finkel. Jess, who are WWE champions and who are WCW champions at this time?
WCW over on the competition. Again, they had not been beaten yet. The 83-week streak was still going on, but it was nearing an end, very close to an end here. However, they were still number one by a little margin. The WCW World Heavyweight Champion was Sting. The United States Champion was Diamond Dallas to the Page.
Ooh.
The television champion is Booker T. And the WCW Tag Team Champions are the Outsiders, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
The Outsiders.
And then coming into the
New World Order.
All right. Before we open it to a montage of tradition versus new generation. So this is the big new generation push before we get into that kickoff of Attitude, right? Just I have a grade for the first match, but can you tell me if there was a dark match? Because I wanted to make sure this was or was not.
There was two, but they were on the pre-show. No, I'm lying. There wasn't. I was thinking of the next one we're going to review. Never mind.
Yeah, that's not the same one,
There is nothing on the pre-show. There was nothing on Sunday Night Heat here.
Okay, I'm glad.
They cut right to like all the entrances of the Battle Royal. They cut to. They just cut to.
They cut to the Nation coming out. They welcomed
Legion of Doom,
and they welcome Legion of Doom with Sunny. So that is our first match. We have Farouk and Common coming down for Rumble, along with LOD. LOD gives you the grade at the end. It is a D, and I think I'm being generous. This is LOD winning the Rumble, but it's such a bad opener. I really don't like every man in the Rumble. We discuss this all the time, how well the Royal Rumble works with bringing in people every 2 minutes. This is just kind of a cluster. And, it's a bad opener unless you're just purely counting on Legion of Doom giving you that pop, which they did. They gave you that pop. But, oh, my gosh, they are out of shape. You can tell they're hurting.
You're wrong, Dave. Classic Mania opener here. 15-man tag team battle royal. 30 men outside the ring, and they only get to go in the ring when Legion of Doom gets their entrance with Sunny.
WrestleMania right here tonight. Hey! LOD! It's LOD! They're back!
Introducing the mystery team. The opening
managing them in a super skimpy outfit.
Well, and it was their re-debut,
great.
by the way. This was the re-debut of them wearing helmets.
I didn't hate the look.
By the way, can I just say something on that, Craig? It's a great D, but how long did it take him to get that gear off before people could come in the ring? It was like I felt like 5 minutes.
They were fighting with it. You can also tell that they didn't even want to be with Sonny. I think they were not happy.
The autobiographies, or not autobiographies, like biography, like television biographies. They said that they didn't. They had nothing against her as a person, but they hated it.
They just didn't. They didn't understand it.
They just ignored her on the way in. They ignored her on the way out. In the end,
and she was like, "Yeah, I'm great."
She looked. She looked fine.
It was clunky. Teams came in out of nowhere, and Kurgan came in out of nowhere, eliminated people, and then people went through the middle and got eliminated, and team went over the top and then came back in through others.
Yeah,
it was such the opposite of what you would expect out of a WrestleMania opener to really energize the crowd.
Yeah,
as Dave said, they just relied on the LOD pop, and they got it for a second, but that's not sustains a WrestleMania opener.
That's not the opener.
And yeah, I'm with you. It was a D, and then LOD of course wins it. Should have kicked that off with LOD wins the 15-man tag team rumble.
In their re-debut or whatever, I gave it a D-. This match was shit. It's a crappy opener, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I think it's the worst WrestleMania opener ever.
So here we go.
Yeah, that's a good.
But before we get there, there's a replay of DX Public Works, and totally, it looks like they're manhandling Stone Cold outside in Boston.
Yeah, they are. It was the not the signing, but I think it was the public workout, the DX.
They call it public workout, yeah.
And Austin came
and then
out
they
there.
did other items all around Boston.
Shawn Michaels is famous and notorious because he almost didn't show up. Like they had to beg him to come out of the limo because he came out of the limo and someone threw a rock at him. He's like, "I'm fucking out of here!" And he gets back in the limo and he refused to come out. Vince had to fucking.
It was a battery. But
was it a battery? Okay,
was it a battery? I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
and
he refused
right
to
in his head.
So then they finally got him out there because he was fucking irritated, hungover, druggy Sean, and so he was just pissed off. He's like, If we don't have air security,
I think this is really when he lost the smile. It wasn't before. This is really when he lost.
Yeah, you're a heel champ. Freddie Blassie gets stabbed. You can fucking take a battery to the head. Just
right, and you know what? And that means fucking people hate your guts compared to the guy you're facing. So, yeah, if the crying.
I'm not gonna.
He got beat and stabbed with beer bottles in a fucking alleyway after a match.
People used to get piss thrown at them.
Refs used to get hit with pieces of corn. I mean, come on. Come on, it happens.
Dave is referencing a clip that went around with one of the wrestling meme sites where where were they? But Dave Hebner gets hit right in the face with a piece of ear of corn from a fan from
bunch
the
of animals.
And Bulldog's in the ring like, "What, Dave? What happened? Did you hit Ned? Oh fuck! He got hit with corn." It's so funny.
I watched it like 3 times. I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop. All right. Continue.
Kind of redneck throws like
corn. TV Boy's like legit. Like he was like an innocent child.
Yeah.
Like remember in the Wrestling with Shadows documentary when like they're all standing around and then Brett comes in like the serious one. He's like, "Guys, we have to do this interview. Let's go right now." And he's like, yeah, we got to like, and he's just like caught like, fuck, I was off task. Like, and he's just so innocent and pure. I miss that guy.
Sorry, dude.
I love Davey for that. We miss Davey. Match number 2, we have Aguila versus Taka for the light heavyweight championship. I gave this a B+. I'm telling you, this should have been the opener. Hey, don't start. This should have been the opener. There's a good chance that most of the crowd doesn't know who these guys are. By the way, Taka wins. Taka wins with the arrow. It's
because the owner of the company doesn't give a shit about
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So there's a good chance that most of the crowd doesn't know who these are, and they're still getting really good reactions because the high flying is so good and the ring work is so good, and they really don't stop. It's
list of leaf favorites go light heavyweights, little people, tag teams are somewhere in there. I don't know. And then I really hate when people sneeze. Other than that, I don't have anything else I hate.
And then so. It's so crazy because the work is really well done and they're doing moves that people have never seen before, really high flying stuff, and it's good. If they had gotten like 3 weeks on tapings before WrestleMania, people would have known who they were.
I have to say that those were moves that people had never seen before. If you never watched the WCW Cruiserweight division,
and there it is, the Michinoku driver. Michinoku with a fast-paced victory. Taka Michinoku, the first ever light heavyweight champion in the World Wrestling Federation, continues his winning ways here at WrestleMania.
Exactly. Hey, there you go. Yeah, I agree.
Which had been raring for like a year and a half before this. Like,
totally agree with that. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. By the way, the match also was only 5 minutes and 57 seconds, which
and it was good.
I agree with you.
Wait, did you give it a grade? What'd you give it?
B+.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
I agree with you. This should have been the opener for sure.
Yeah.
Taka defends the title, but by the way, he was the defending champion. I put this was certainly no WCW Cruiserweight match. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me that Vince can get so much things right by building stars, catering to the national media, attracting national coverage and stuff. But he never fucking. I don't think he cares about light heavyweights or cruiserweights. He's never done it right. It was an okay match for the time that they had. I give it a C+. It's not their fault, but I agree with Dave. It should have opened the show.
We get The Rock getting the interview, and he's basically just being a big old heel the entire time.
I know we're not going to grade this, but can I say that this might make the pay-per-view for me? Because this is what this made him. This interview segment right here fucking made him.
Oh,
and the reason why I fondly remember Joe, of all people, at my house too for this pay-per-view was because the very first time that a famous line was ever uttered by The Rock was this clip. And it was the throwaway line, "If you smell what I'm cooking." And after that, that went insane. He was just like Austin 316, because I whipped your ass. That was a throwaway line. Austin in that interview was like, "I got to get in because Stone Cold said so, because that's my tagline," which was big, but the big one was Austin 316 said I just whipped your ass. This one here, The Rock was trying to work on all other things. He was talking about himself. The Rock contemplated for a bit. Was one of his fucking lines, which made me die laughing. When he's like, he paused, and he's like, The Rock had to contemplate for a bit. Like, and I was laughing so fucking hard on that. And then when he just like looked at him and he said something, and he goes, "I mean, if you smelled him cooking." And I was like, oh my God, that's right. And I remember Joe laughing and looking at me at my house, and he goes, "Did he just say, if you smell when I'm cooking?" I was like, he did. And Joe's like, "That's phenomenal." And I was like, it is phenomenal. And ever since then, you saw, "If you smell what I'm cooking," he started saying it more because he realized people were on fire. This segment made this character for him. Like, he was a made man after this. Like, I'll never forget this interview. Like, an interview, a tape segment at a WrestleMania got this guy over. And he was already getting over. Don't get me wrong. He was already getting over coming into this. But holy shit, this interview, I will never forget. It rocketed him to the stratosphere. It was beautiful. Just great.
I because of The Rock now, when someone says something and I'm kind of following along at work or whatever, I say, "Yeah, I smell what you're cooking." They're like, "What?" And I'm all, I got you. I feel you. Like, what does that mean? You don't watch wrestling. I smell what you're cooking all the time. And they're like, "Huh?" Yeah, they're not wrestling fans.
It's just the best. Like, he was really the best here. And he wasn't even done. He was only like 30% realized here. Like, that's how big he became.
Yeah. Match number 3 is for the European Championship. Hunter Hearst Helmsley. You can say Triple H, but that's not what it was yet. With China.
I'm thinking of Craig this whole fucking match. When I was watching this match, I was like, Craig's probably like slamming his head into a door. Like, over and over again.
Versus Owen Hart. I give it a C+. It's really brutal. Even when being chained to Sergeant Slaughter. It's by the way, a major point of the match. China must be handcuffed to Commissioner Sergeant Slaughter or Sergeant Commissioner Slaughter or Commissioner Slaughter, whatever it is,
and his massive
interference. Belly. And guess what? It doesn't work. She still gets through, and she interferes. She puts powder up in the face and interferes in Owen Hart, and then Helmsley hits the pedigree for the 1-2-3. It's a C+. It's total garbage. I get really pissed here. The match is
C+ is garbage.
Through. It's just. Oh, they're already nursing an ankle injury for Owen, and that takes the majority of the match. It's super boring. It is not
psychology, Dave. It's like Aka Mikanoku and this
work the ankle.
Work the ankle, bro. Owen does pick up the pace. But speaking of pace, they seem to a step slower than they should have been like the entire match. That's just what I see. The crowd was definitely into it, but I just felt like there wasn't really a great gel here between the two of them. So that's why I give it a C+. Craig, what do you got?
I give it a C. Go back and watch it because Triple H is fighting. It's got a weird metal clasp on his outfit and his robe or whatever, and so he's literally fighting the entire walk down the ring to unclasp the robe before he gets to the ring, the top of the stairs, and he can't do it. So because I remember seeing when he walks out the curtain, I was like, that looks tough to take off. It's like a metal clasp. So he's fighting it the entire time. Triple H, he's such a doof at this point.
He was not. He had not hit his character's puberty yet, for sure.
But and it bothers me, the overconfidence, and he thinks he did, and it's
he
just such
like
a
this when he yells. He's like, "Get him over there, China!" Like he had like a high, and now like when he became the game, he was more like this.
Yeah,
like he was like a super Batman. And then, but back here, listen to him when he's yelling, even in the ring, he's like, "2-2, come on, ref, count 3, ref!" Like his little high voice, and I'm like, what?
I'm still elite from Connecticut, right? Or no? What am I? Am I DX?
Like
who am I?
He hadn't found it yet. I mean, well, go ahead. Sorry.
Taking advantage. The commissioner has been blinded. Oh, low blow. Man, oh, man. Trying to call Owen with a low blow. Pedigree. Yes. 5, 3, that's it. Brilliant. I can't believe this woman. This Amazon.
They don't gel. Poor Owen. You can tell just there's no heart in it. And this whole China's handcuffed to Sergeant Slaughter and baby powder there at the end, and
did you notice that
whatever?
They
Move
couldn't
on.
get the baby powder cleaned up throughout the rest of the baby? Was there for like the entire
no,
rest
it was. I put that in my note too. It's so goddamn it. By the time Austin got out there, I was like, he's already got flimsy knees anyway, and you're having him run on a slippery surface. Yeah. And every time he moved over there and he had to do footwork to keep his balance, I'm like, oh, like the whole time I'm like, God damn it, why did Johnny be bad with powder?
It's your point, Craig. We'll talk about that, but they're both so broken when they get to that match. Both those guys are so broken in the main event. Oh my God.
This match was 11 minutes 29 seconds. Hunter came in as European champion, retained, as we talked about before. I gave it a B-. I liked where they were headed. I think the reason why I gave it out of the C realm is because I was so, again, taken back by the pop and the response that fucking China got.
The crowd was into it, bro.
The powder was corny and there's way too much of it. Like, it's like a whole bag of flour. Like it was ridiculous. It hit the whole section of the crowd. They were like, they had powder on them the rest of the night. And like but when they did it, that place popped. And then after the match, when she forearm Slaughter, I mean, again, they reacted like Yokozuna dropped the leg on somebody.
They love
and then
China.
she throws him. Yeah. She fucking throws him with one hand over the guardrail, and the place popped again. And I'm not saying that's great to have a heel, but I mean, on the other channel, you had these cool heels getting cheers all the time. So they were figuring it out here. And so I was going to save this comment for the end, but since this involves Triple H, the next night on Raw was majorly historic because they hit the massive reset button. And that's when everybody knew Shawn wasn't coming back after this night. He shit on Shawn. He took leadership of the DX faction, and then they introduced X-Pac to come back out.
That's right.
Who was part of the NWO and left.
I totally remember that.
X-Pac was the first person to actually go back. Whereas all the year before, it was people leaving WWF in drones, going to WCW, and then now someone finally came back.
I totally forgot.
That helped me feel that the next night on Raw was majorly just as big as this pay-per-view, the next night on Raw, because they hit the reset button. They had the Nation kick Farouk out. They had all kinds of stuff that next night, it was just as historic as this pay-per-view. So that's why I give it a B-, because I really felt like when I was listening to them pop for China, and Triple H and Owen did try to have a good wrestling match, and maybe you're right. Maybe Owen didn't have any heart at this point because he was just trying to collect a paycheck.
I think it's another oil and water scenario like you talk about. They just
or maybe they knew
lost.
Or maybe they knew what's the point in having a good match, because really the end part is going to be the big deal. With trying to get in the pop and all that stuff.
Maybe someone was legitimately injured because they definitely worked on Owen's ankle for like hours. I feel like,
and there was a lot of gaga in the match too. But maybe I was a little high
serviceable. Like they did everything right. It's just not. It didn't. That X Factor, that pop, that WrestleMania, it just wasn't a WrestleMania match. I don't know.
Yeah,
I kind of feel the same way.
Everybody calm down. Hi, Chris.
This next one might be a little mixed too that way because the pop was there, but wasn't a WrestleMania match. Mark Miro and Sable, versus Luna Vachon and Goldust in a mixed tag match. So, oh my gosh, it's just there's so much going on here that kind of makes sense, but kind of doesn't. But Sable basically hits a powerbomb and a TKO to win the match, and the crowd is absolutely insane about it. I gave it a B-, and I had a hard time with it, but I couldn't get over. Here's the deal. Let me just read my notes. They're really playing the Sable getting more over than Mark Mero, and that's intentional. Before the start of this match, this is. Oh, by the way, this is also the artist formerly known as Goldust, which made me laugh a lot. I thought that was hilarious. And there's some shenanigans of the girls running around the ring and all that kind of stuff. And there's a pretty good match going on between Mero and Goldust, by the way. They're putting on decent work here. Goldust is always great in there. Mero is better than people give him credit for.
Way better.
All they want to see
I'm
is
tired of people, whenever anybody says it on their podcast, are like, well, and then the Bill had to ring, like when Mero's wrestling.
No, the guy could work.
Like,
what are you talking about?
Mero was fine. Like,
he was fine.
He just happened to have a wife that became a megastar. Honestly.
And they built the storyline that way. That's the whole point. And that's what people don't get. The chants for Sable are getting louder and louder and louder. You're playing right into Vince's storyline that has been built for them. And that's what nobody understands here. Sable hits that powerbomb and TKO, like I said, and the crowd loses their mind. I mean, you would think it was the main event, and she wasn't that good yet. And she got better over time. But
she's never good.
And she's nowhere near the talent of women today. But when that happened, people lost their mind. They loved it. And you go back and you try to blame that on Mark Mero, you're an idiot. Because he was like, are the checks good? I'm good. Let's go. And I'll work whatever you want me to work.
There's nothing wrong with that, man.
It's fine. Yeah. No. And everybody who gets mad about this stuff and wants to crap on Mero, you're a total mark because you were in that crowd cheering it when it happened.
You're ridiculous. And he did his job. He allowed his wife, who he knew was getting powered. She powerbombed him at one point.
And Luna played that chicken shit hill all the way through, which was fantastic. She did a great job. It was a good match.
Counter. Wait a minute. Sable. Can she? Don't tell me. Yes! Oh! TKO! You gotta be kidding! Sable with a TKO! Victory! Unbelievable!
Here are your winners, Sable and Mark Mero.
Very good. Well done. What do you got?
This match was 9 minutes and 11 seconds.
Didn't feel like
I almost called 911 if you catch me. I don't know what time.
Whoa, hey!
But I gave it a solid B. I really wanted to hate this match.
There you go.
But I thought this was a great match. They covered Sable. The crowd was so into her, like Dave said. Mero, Goldust, and Luna perfectly covered up for her greenness. I mean, expertly covered up for her greenness. And you said it already, Dave. Fucking Mark Mero and Goldust were cutting it up in there. Like they were fucking having they were having false finishes and shit. I'm like, what the fuck?
It was good.
And then Sable didn't fuck up. She didn't. She was, and don't get me wrong, the other three, like I said, made sure that she didn't fuck up. But I was at the end of the match, I was like, this was a goddamn good match, and why don't I remember it being this good? I remember Sable getting the pop for doing the what was it called? The
Sable Bomb.
No, the Mero's move. She took Mero's move.
The TKO.
TKO, yeah.
Are you talking about the F5?
Whoa. It's a bad F5, but it's an F5,
yeah. So I remember that specifically from this match, but I didn't think it was going to be good. So when the match started, I was like, I'm going to fucking hate this. I'm going to shit. I can't wait to shit all over this. And then after every segment, I'm like, that crowd is so fucking loud and they're Sable so over. And then Goldust and Mero were going back and forth with great wrestling and doing false finishes. And I'm like, this match is a fucking B. And I don't know, I'm mad at myself for it. I just am. I thought it was a B. Go ahead, Craig.
No, I'm the same way. I gave it a solid B. This is the bronze medal match of the night, the third best. Have we ever talked about the fact that Brock stole Mero's move and his wife?
No, we never have. That's very interesting.
And I can see him say that. He's like, by the way, Mark, this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take that.
I never thought of that until I watched this match. But as Jess's note on the China match and her pop, I had the same thought in this match.
Wow.
Her pop and the crowd's energy lifted this.
Yeah.
They were so into it and elevated this to I started to enjoy it and lean in when the crowd. Sable's anger and emotion in this felt real. Led the whole way. I thought the package of how like Mero and Luna and Goldust were kind of messing with her the entire kind of way up to this, and the breakup coming, but they played her and booked her to perfection, and she did everything right, and she was a superstar right off the bat. She wasn't a great worker, but like that emotion and get in here, you bitch, and like everything she did with Luna, like let her have her way with her and the proper tags, and there were no mess ups. Dustin wasn't in great shape. You can probably tell he was not
big,
at the greatest point in his life. He was a big boy.
He's having
here.
a tough go right now.
But he, but still worked great. I like this match a lot. This was the first time I was like, okay, now WrestleMania
Sable's
started.
performance was that of like when they have a celebrity come in. She acted just like a celebrity would act.
Yes,
because she was green, and so everything was you bitch, like, and it was just the way Rhonda and her first match was. Any celebrity that comes in and does well, I'm like, she totally fit that role. So this was,
and if we're being real, she was kind of celebrity at this point. I mean,
she was getting huge, and I mean, this Craig made a good point. This kind of did uplift the pay-per-view. It was like electric, and like a face went over, and you were like awesome, because all before this, it was Triple H won, LOD won, but it was a clusterfuck match. Nobody cared about the cruiserweight
up to this,
and so it was. So this was a good face match.
What I absolutely can't believe is when I gave that B-, I thought these guys would be like, "Well, you're dumb, Dave. I'm giving it a C+," and they graded it higher than I did. You never know what's going to happen on this show. I'm just saying. By the way, Tennessee Lee introduced Jeff Jarrett to the ring, and I don't know why, but we move on. He does his strut and all that stuff, but whatever. It doesn't really do anything.
Well, and they brought out Jennifer Flowers, who was the announcer for this next match.
All right. Okay. That's great.
There's still no point in Jeff Jarrett being there, to your point. But
Match number 5. The Rock comes out with the Nation versus Ken Shamrock for the Intercontinental Championship. It's important to note that if The Rock loses by disqualification, he will lose the championship here. I give it a grade C. Basically, this is a tough one because Shamrock wins, but then he doesn't win, and they reverse the decision. So that's why I give it a C. So I'll just read my notes.
I'll explain it. Read
it's
your
a total
notes,
cluster.
When it gets to me, I'll explain
But I'm saying
why they
Shamrock
did this,
wins, and he's IC title champion for like 2 seconds, and then he loses again. So we'll get there. I totally forgot how good of a heel The Rock was at this time. He's really selling everything for Ken so well in the beginning, and then the stuff that comes out of the show, but he was able to kick out. The Rock is totally playing that. He's playing a chicken shit heel here. It's really good. So basically, Ken gets him in an ankle lock and he wins the IC championship. But there's even parts of it where if The Rock knows he's going to lose by DQ, why is he walking away in the beginning? I don't like that. He does I'm not doing this, and he walks away, but Ken brings him back. Just let him walk away. You would have won the championship right there, dummy. There's stuff like that doesn't make sense to me. And then what's really cool is he gets him in the ankle lock, wins the championship. Then he starts to suplex he being Ken Shamrock, every member of the Nation, and he keeps going back to The Rock's ankle. Farouk attempts to come down to help Rock, but that's why Raw is so fun, where Jess talks about Farouk gets out of the Nation, because he comes in to help The Rock, and then he refuses. Because The Rock, just so y'all know, for some context, he's kind of been slowly taking over the Nation, and Farouk is not too fucking happy about it. The Rock is better than Farouk. He holds more attention than Farouk, and Farouk is starting to get a little jealous. So when he comes down to help The Rock when he's stuck in Ken Shamrock's ankle lock, he's like, "Nah, I'm good," and he walks away.
Why you Shamrock? There's Farouk! There's Farouk! And Farouk, stop it! Help me! Don't help me! What are you doing, you idiot? The Rock isn't in agony. He's breaking the roof's not going to help me. Help me, Farouk! I cannot believe that the leader of the nation is not going to help the Rock. Shamrock has won the title.
I love that part because that pushes on to Monday Night Raw, but I don't understand if it's a no DQ match, who cares what Shamrock is doing to The Rock? You're just going to reverse that decision. None of that makes sense to me, and I give it a C for all those reasons. But it does push off to a great Raw the next night, to Jess's point. He talked about it earlier. What do you guys got?
I give it a D+.
Wow.
Because the match was only 4 minutes and 49 seconds for an Intercontinental Championship match, so I was bothered by both. As much as I praised The Rock in the segment earlier, and I thought they both looked good here, I hated the fact that they used this WrestleMania match to kind of not further their feud, because I'm not bothered that this was not a blow off. I'm bothered that this was the worst match of their 4 or 5
great matches. Yeah.
So it started at Survivor Series 97. They were both on opposite Survivor Series teams. It's when they first started signaling they wanted to feud with each other. And then it came down to both those two for their respective teams, and Shamrock made him tap in the ankle lock and was sole survivor. So it started there. Then they had a great match at Royal Rumble 98 where the ending saw Rock put brass knuckles on. He punches Shamrock. Shamrock kicks out right before 3. The referee's like, oh, you didn't get him. And while he's arguing with the ref, or actually right before that, when he punched Shamrock in the face and went down for the cover, he put the brass knucks in Ken Shamrock's tights. So Ken Shamrock kicked, The Rock gets pissed, and he's yelling at the ref. And as he's yelling, Shamrock comes to and whips him in the ankle lock, and Rock taps. So you think he wins the IC title right then, and he does, and he holds it around. And then The Rock gets up and goes, look at his tights, look at his tights. And then so the ref goes, whoa, and feels for it and pulls it out and disqualifies Shamrock, which was genius, and it worked perfect. Here, they overthought it. They tried to do another convoluted ending here. So basically what happened is he puts him in the ankle lock. The Rock taps clean. So Shamrock wins again. Instead of Shamrock just holding the hold and letting the refs come in, kind of like what Brett did with Lawler in SummerSlam 93, where he never let the hold, like Lawler gave up and then Brett just held it for like 5 minutes. And then the ref's like, that's it. Like, I'm reversing my decision. They didn't do that. He wins the match. He holds it for a couple seconds. The ref's like, I'm telling you, he lets it go. He suplexes every member of the nation. Then he puts the ankle lock back on again. Then the refs get in. He lets it go again, goes and takes care of the refs, then puts it on again. The ref still doesn't really act weird. And then as they're loading him on the stretcher, Howard's mic cut out. So Howard just, all you heard was, Intercontinental Champion, The Rock. And then Jim Ross goes, what? And then someone must have told Howard, your fucking mic didn't work. So he redid it. Due to the fact that Ken Shamrock would not break the hold. I'm like, he broke it twice. What do you mean he didn't break the hold? He broke the hold twice to fuck other motherfuckers up. And then he put the hold back on. He didn't not break the hold. That makes
Which kind of happens all the time, by the way.
The referee has reversed his decision and has disqualified Ken Shamrock for refusing to break the submission hold. Therefore, he awards the decision to the man who is still World Wrestling Federation Intercontinental Champion, The Rock.
I think that's why they're thinking of all these screwy things to do and keep this going. Like, it's not right. And I didn't realize the history of Rumble, and they already did the screw job in here and didn't finish this. But I think they're thinking ways to not have Rock lose any heat in this and keep going, as he's kind of gonna the next night be leader of the nation.
Good try, kind of thing. But it really fell flat.
It backfired.
To me. Yeah.
But it wasn't great, and I would still hold
I felt
Mero
personally
and
when Farouk
Mero match above this.
When Farouk turned on him, they could have taken that a different way. I know The Rock runs the nation. Farouk gets kicked out, but they could have kicked out The Rock and made him go like hardcore face.
Yeah. And by the way, Farouk runs so fast out the ring, and he stops so quickly on a dime before he gets in the ring. I was like, ooh. It was kind of cool.
Hey man,
but
Farouk,
it wasn't
Farouk
good. Like they tried, but
they worked hard. What we say.
But the storyline actually worked because it was the whole Farouk blowing him off and flipping him off or whatever. So it worked. This was Vince Russo booking again. Wrestling second, storyline first.
There it is. Match number 6 is a dumpster match. Yeah, I said that. It's a dumpster match. Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie. I'm not gonna adjust that at all.
Call him Terry Funk, please.
No,
just
I'm
call
not
him
doing
Terry
it.
Funk.
It's Chainsaw Charlie. You heard it.
Since at this point, he basically stripped all of his clothes off almost to where you had to know he was Terry Funk. It's hilarious.
There you go.
And then Jim Ross would slip all the time. Jim Ross would call him Funk. Like, it was great.
Yeah, he was affectionately known as Chainsaw Charlie. That's Terry Funk.
It's basically a fuck you to McMahon, and everyone in the back. It's like, he's Terry Funk. He's wearing a fuck you t-shirt, and we're going to call him Terry Funk.
Yeah. Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie. I will not adjust. Versus the New Age Outlaws. I already feel like I grade this too nice, and I'm going to give it a C+. What? I did.
So you think that's too nice?
Yeah, I think so. I love Road Dogg coming down to the ring. It's one of my favorite ring entrances ever.
And this was their infancy here. The crowd didn't
They were getting into
And
it.
again, the next night on Raw, like it was actually became a lot bigger. Next night on Raw was a whole thing for DX. Like it was a rebirth. Like, and then
you could feel like it's coming.
Yeah.
But what I didn't like, it was kind of unorthodox. The dumpsters were really funky. They were hard to get into. They were really high. Like you could have found all sorts of dumpsters to your liking.
The one backstage was really high. That was a different height than
the one
it
was. But even the one at the ring was like getting them in there is nearly impossible if you're on the ground level. So it just didn't like that. I said the concept was cool.
Well, they figured that problem out.
Yeah, it does spill into the back with a whole different dumpster. And the New Age Outlaws
get a ladder.
They get forklift into a bigger dumpster, and they actually close it up and clamp it down with the forklift. I'm sure that the forklift was not required because I don't think there was any fucking way they were getting out of that thing. It was so deep.
There's one lid shot. The other lid shot. Is this over? What? Referee's wait. Is the referee waving it off, or is he saying it's over? I don't know, but what is Funk doing? You don't need a crazy man driving a forklift.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of this bout and new World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Commands
But that's how I
And
graded it.
by the
So-
way, once the lids were shut, the match was over. So Funk didn't really have to.
Yeah, he
need
didn't
to
have to
close
do
it.
that,
Yeah.
and he had a hard time getting it back into gear. It was a
fucking
total
because he was
cluster.
so spazzy. You could tell like they probably spent
Yeah, he's
all
like,
day. I can
and
imagine
he's yelling,
them training.
he's yelling
Funk-
about it the whole time. He's like,
I bet they
"God
made
damn it!"
Funk get to the arena like 3 hours before the pay-per-view going, we're going to spend as much time with you on this fucking forklift as we can because you got to drive it. Yeah.
But my horse is
I'm
sick.
done. On my ranch, I have several forklifts. It's like, I know.
But so basically, the team of Cactus and Chainsaw win the titles. C+. Not doing anything like this.
You're wrong, David. I give it a B. I give it a B plus. I
ridiculous.
thoroughly enjoyed this. It wasn't a Matt
Chainsaw Charlie,
classic,
Craig.
but in the context of this pay per view, this was the second best match. Maybe even I like the storyline, and basically the New Age Outlaws had put Charlie and Funk in a dumpster and then pushed it off the Raw stage, and then that kind of led them to Hunter Hearst Helms, I think, like admonishing them, saying, "Hey, don't feel bad about this. This is how you get it in DX and blah 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 and stop."
Yeah, earlier in the year, that's how they first got anointed into DX. Yeah,
yeah. So it was fun. It's Funk. They beat the shit out of each other. Billy Gunn, I think, broke his nose like within seconds of starting this match. They went to the outside. They used a forklift. Funk had this terrible strawberry on his back towards the very end. I don't know how he got
power
that.
bombed in the goddamn dumpster. Like I wrote that in my notes. Like that fucking they power bombed Terry Funk from the apron into a fucking dumpster, and that's I think where he scratched his hip going in, and you see it at the end, and I'm like, oh my god, like. Jesus Christ.
Killed him,
But
bro.
good.
Come on,
I wasn't expecting this, and I didn't realize that they won the tag titles, and I kind of
did.
popped for it.
Listen.
And I loved, and they hurt themselves by punching the dumpster and beating up the dumpster as they celebrated, and I kind of popped for it. And it was probably pretty short lasting, this tag team reign of Chainsaw.
Yeah, the next night they were stripped of it because
Oh, there you go.
because was it Vince or someone sided with them saying it was the wrong dumpster? The dumpster at ringside was it was great. It's great. It's great. Yeah, it's great.
The wrong dumpster.
I gave
This must have been one of the
match,
greatest Raws ever after WrestleMania.
This match was 10 minutes and 1 second long. I gave it a B. I thought this was super fun. I thought all the action, that getting into it, being creative in the back. It was really before. Now they overproduce everything. You know, when they know they're going to do a backstage brawl, now they have 25 fucking angles in the back that you never knew were possible. But here, the one camera when they're fighting down the hallway, and they like the rolling racks were blocking the camera, shooting them. But here comes Mick Foley crashing through them. And I was like, that was an accidental amazing shot. Like they didn't really mean to get that. It looked guerrilla-like, guerrilla warfare and style of filming and everything. Like I was just like, man, I really, really liked it. I liked the end too. I was very nervous when Funk was on the forklift.
I know. I was
and
like,
then,
he's going to kill.
just looking how he had
Outlaws.
bruises all over him. Cactus got fucked up. Like the chair shots were ridiculous.
We get a Kane Undertaker montage, which is pretty decent. Probably better than the match itself. And then we got Pete Rose as our guest ring announcer. And the best thing he says is, how about it?
How about it? Like,
How
so
about
fucking
it?
Genius. And then Kane comes down. The only problem, I know this is legendary, but the only problem I have with this is the fact that Kane is a fucking heel. And then you knew when he did this, when he's insulting the Boston crowd, you knew the crowd was going to pop, and they did. And he tombstoned Pete Rose, allowed himself to be tombstoned. This is what I was talking about. They put him on the stretcher, fucking face first. They drag him out of the ring and they plot, and you just see like his belly hanging out of his tuck.
It was probably the same crew.
They just don't care. And they just throw him on the stretcher.
There's
and wheel him
extras
out.
in the back, bro. They don't give a fuck.
This is fun and games. Wait a minute. But this is how. Oh, not Pete Rose. Good God. No. That's Pete Rose. That's Pete Rose. Pete Rose just got tombstone. Pete Rose just got tombstone, and this crowd in Boston loved it.
I will say though, for WrestleMania moment, it's one of the best ones. It made me laugh really hard.
Yeah.
But then we have to get to this shit match, which I'll take over.
Well, there you go. Can I ask you this question? How long did
No.
you say the entrances were here?
10
minutes?
I wish that they didn't have a match at the end of it. I would have easily watched these entrances and then had no match if they would have.
Because they were good.
Yeah.
They were good.
Yeah, the entrances were fine.
Undertaker versus Kane. I give it a D.
Oh, thank God.
Undertaker obviously wins because it's part of the streak. I don't care how it happens. But here's the thing. The only thing I find good about this match is the fans that found out how to use the foam hands to flip off Paul Bearer the entire time.
I loved it.
Was,
Yeah, I did watch that. I did laugh heartily at that.
It
wanted to
wasn't
warn
a foam
them.
finger, it was foam hands.
I wanted to
which
get
they
a
went,
time
"Boop,
machine and be
boop,
like, he will tell you to suck his fat cock if you don't be careful. Like
we were there. He actually said
And Jess is referencing we upset Paul Bearer and he insulted us.
Like Elsinore Storm at a house show.
in our
We did.
archives. It's in our very, very first episode. I tell that story.
Oh, it's a fantastic. It is a story, and it's him telling. It's him doing it. Paul Bearer is a horrible man. May he rest in peace.
I can't say that.
I would. So there's even a section here where Kane hits Undertaker with the stairs, and he completely misses him. Bad camera work, bad work. It's all bad. It's so frustrating to watch. The table shot by Taker was decent that he fell into, even though Kane was supposed to throw him into it and completely missed that too. But then Kane ruins it by throwing a flimsy piece of cardboard on him. Like, I hit you with cardboard. Oh, that must hurt. You're the Undertaker. You better sell that.
Keep going.
No, I give it a D. I can't talk about
Feed
it
me.
anymore. I'm really
Feed me.
upset.
Yeah, I know. I gave this a D minus. The only reason why I didn't give it an F is because the jump over the top rope where Undertaker crash and burn on the table was fucking phenomenal. That was
great. Yeah, I was like, whoa, okay.
But let me just say this, and I've said it before in past reviews. Every Undertaker and Kane match is trash. Every single one.
It
I
really
think they
is.
had one
You're right,
good
Jess.
match. Am I wrong?
You only no, they had never had any good matches, Dave. You got to stop saying stuff like that because when you start putting propaganda, out
that's
there-
how rumors start.
No, that's how rumors started.
That's how you get down the rabbit hole right there.
Dave, you're gonna.
That's
someone's
how he
gonna hear
becomes
that.
mayor of Knox County, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Do your research.
Right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because they're gonna be like, oh, remember? Everybody just remembers the lightning from the ceiling and the fact that Undertaker abandoned Kane in a burning house and. Undertaker's mom had sex with Paul Bearer. Everybody just remembers that bullshit storyline, which apparently stuck in everyone's head. That was part of the storyline. I'm literally not making that up.
This would be the third tombstone. Yes, he got it. And will this be enough? My God, what will it take if it's not? Yes, The Undertaker has won this match. The Undertaker has defeated Kane, and Paul Bearer has got a steel chair.
Here is your winner, The Undertaker.
It's hard when brothers fight each other. They don't want to hurt each other. They have a chemistry together, real brothers. Brett and Owen never had a good match together. Just kidding. It is a D. I have nothing else to say. It was just, and honestly, I'm gonna just be honest with the audience and say that I just skipped it because I knew it was
Good.
garbage.
Good.
And
It is
you can
garbage.
see on Peacock the amount of the match length, and it took over a quarter of the pay per view. So
It's disgusting.
No, thank you.
17 minutes
No,
for two.
thank you. I got better
Yeah.
things to do. I have to go to
17
the
minutes for
bathroom
two
now.
big-winded guys.
Yeah, and that's the
Kane
thing.
looked
Like,
jacked though. Kane looked fucking huge.
he was huge. You put them in with the right people, they're going to be great. But you know, like I said, you don't put two big men together anymore. You just don't do it.
Sometimes you can. These two
It's
just
a
didn't.
rarity now.
it's the same kind of move set and garbage. It's whatever.
man.
Punching and kicking and punching and kicking.
I'll watch that.
And then if every move that Kane did, I'm sorry, was sloppy as fuck. And like, because I mean, they're big guys trying to lift other big guys.
I feel like he was really being overly cautious with Taker here.
I agree with that too. And I'm not saying, because everybody knows that Glenn's a good worker. A lot of people say working with him is a night off, but at the same time, like that, all his tombstones were sloppy as fuck. And like, I was like, oh my
the stair
god,
shot.
like,
he could have put it on
everything.
Totally
Everything they both did was just winded and sloppy.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, this is terrible. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, we get a nice little attitude montage. We just said, you got attitude, Jess? This is the attitude era. You get an attitude montage.
I thought it was a "Don't try this at home" promo.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it wasn't.
We have attitude.
It was basically the contents of a "Don't try this at home" promo before
say we're not
launched.
real
Before it was that. And then we get the DX Mike Tyson Stone
Did you see
Cold
my
Austin.
chin lock in the last match?
It was fantastic.
Attitude.
We get a montage of DX, Mike Tyson, Stone Cold, Steve Austin. This is what made all the news.
Sorry, Dave. I don't mean to interrupt.
What I
but
forget.
this, okay, so this is the second match, and I've said it in other podcasts that we've done. But how much did having the shitty DX band do Triple H's music and Shawn's music in this WrestleMania take away from their entrances? A lot, because it's a shitty, horrible DX band cover of what their theme music should be.
Yes, and
sorry,
I also have to say, I was going to bring it up for when Shawn comes out. I might be in the minority on this one, but I fucking hated the DX opener. The way it would clip back and forth. It would strobe back and forth from clips to live. I close my eyes every time. I can't
always hate
fucking
it.
watch
I've always hated it.
I fucking hate it. I hate it. And I'm sure it was meant to irritate you, but they're also trying to be cool with it. And it's hard to watch. Like
there's some subliminal point.
It's seizure inducing. Like it really is. Like
there's some subliminal point where that's when I get up and refill my drink. I think. I don't really notice that.
Sorry, I jumped the gun and I only connected it because Triple H had it earlier and I forgot.
Don't worry about it.
But
I'm saying,
I'm an asshole.
But this is the Mike Tyson situation, the drama, the Raws before, Stone Cold pushing, like, and Vince saying, "Don't ruin this, Austin. Don't you ruin this.
You ruined it.
You ruined everything." And it's just so raw and real. This was the turning point for WWE to come back to number one. This is it, and this is the match culmination to it. So match number 8, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels for the WWE Heavyweight Championship with special referee enforcer Mike Tyson. I give it a grade A because of the storyline, because of the work, because of the ending. Craig says no, Jess says yes. I love how this is already getting upsetting for all of you. I'm not going to get too much into it because I've seen the match over and over. I just highly recommend everybody watch it. Watch all the montage work and everything leading up to the match. Watch how they built this storyline. They get Mike Tyson involved in my opinion, the best way they possibly can. They don't expose him in any way that's going to hurt him in his career as he's going to try to make a comeback. And Mike Tyson's on a downturn. He just lost his title just recently in heavyweight boxing.
To Holyfield.
To Holyfield, right?
And I think he had already been disqualified because after he got disqualified in a boxing match because he punched the ref. Like the ref was trying to.
The world is crumbling around Mike. But
he still had that allure.
Of course. Well, and at the same time, Vince looks at him crumbling a little bit and goes, I think I have a chance of bringing him on for money that I don't have to spend. So
for those people who don't remember, by the way, he was scheduled to be the special guest referee for Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage at the main event, the primetime special in 1990, right before WrestleMania 6. But 2 weeks before, he got knocked out by Buster Douglas in Tokyo. And so they ended up getting Buster Douglas because Tyson and his camp pulled out because they were embarrassed. So they didn't want to come and do it. Bruce said that they wanted to keep Tyson. They're like, we would have taken him. We would have been the first major sports entity to have him after his knockout on their live television show. We could have kind of rebuilt him. But like his camp called and said, he won't be doing it anymore. So 2 weeks they had to get Buster Douglas, and Buster Douglas ended up being the guy. So they were trying to get Mike Tyson back in 1990.
Yeah. So
to your point, Dave, that's a very good point because he was way on the downhill here. And so Vince is like, I'll catch you, baby.
I'm gonna give Vince a try. I'll get you in there.
I got you.
Like I said, we all know Austin wins this match, and it's fantastic. The ref is knocked out, but as Austin finally hits the stunner, I believe for the second time, and there's no one to count, and Mike Tyson jumps in, change allegiances apparently, and counts the 1, 2, 3. Stone Cold gives him a shirt. Michaels gets pretty upset. And Michaels takes that shirt and throws it into the crowd. They get into an altercation, and Shawn thinks he can punch Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson lays him out with one shot. It's a great finish. It's a great montage, great storyline. I give the whole thing an A. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to hand it over to Craig because he's going to disagree. I think Jess is going to agree with me at the end.
Yeah, I think Jess is best to close it up. I will just say this was not without controversy. A lot of stories about Michaels not wanting to do the job in the back, and his attitude at the time. There's stories of Undertaker being backstage with taped wrists ready to make sure that Michaels did the job. This was the ultimate passing of the torch. It was inevitable. Austin had to win it. It was his time.
And Michaels counter. Michaels going for another kick. Austin, he got it! The starter! Mike Tyson in! Austin is the champion! Stone Cold! Stone Cold! Stone Cold! Wait a minute! What? Tyson has double crossed the end! It's a double cross! The Austin era has begun!
Big question for me is how messed up is Shawn's back? Is he just hamming it up? At one point, Shawn yells to the announce table, "I'm the toughest SOB." Is he trying to make it about him with his back? Because he's a bump machine in the first few minutes of the match, and then he's like nursing it, and then he's really hurt. He did hurt his back at the Royal Rumble versus Undertaker, kind of bouncing off his casket. But how bad is it? Was he just being Shawn, medicated, making it about him in this? The match was lackluster. I think they even admittedly said,
not the lackluster match. Yes, he was making it about himself. Yes, he was.
Yeah,
he felt the torch was being passed. It was being ripped from his hand. But 2 months earlier, it was probably like 4 months earlier. He was involved in like the biggest fucking screw job of all time. So he thought, "Oh, I'm Vince's guy." And then like fucking 4 months later, Vince is like, "Listen, it was going to be you or Brett that was going to lay down at WrestleMania 14 for Austin. I just didn't know which one of you it was going to be." And then when Brett did what he did and refused to lose the title, I knew right then, well, Michaels is going to get it. So I think Michaels was just he was bullshitting himself. And then he really realized that Vince isn't like anybody but himself. Vince is for the business. Vince is for Vince and the WWF. That's it. And I think Michaels had a harsh reality here when all the tour leading up to it is like, "Yep, we're doing this big tour so you can lose in Boston at WrestleMania 14. I think Michaels was like, "Fuck this shit." He went away. He retired for 4.5 years after this match.
And he should, and it had the biggest business and the most business it ever done when he left. But Michaels usually doesn't.
Go ahead.
Michaels usually doesn't let the product suffer, regardless of what he thinks about what's going on. Maybe because he's on the winning end of it and on most fronts. But the fact that he does sell his back, and that the fact that it is so limiting. Even Steve Austin had said that this match was the shits, and it really is. Lower than capable of both of them are doing. I still liked it. The event itself, I still popped. I remember the moment. This is a one match pay-per-view. Did I give it a B? If not, I'll give it a solid kind of B. Can't give it an A. It could have been an A plus. I'm sure they did 1,000 times 5-star matches together at some point.
When he was the ringmaster, they did.
This was not one of them, and I there's a lot of politics, and I kept trying to read into it as I watched this, but Stone Cold looked like $1 million fucking dollars, and the end of this, and the confetti, and the Tyson turn, perfect, and the shot, it was just fun. But that's why wrestling's fun, is because we're all analyzing the backstage stuff, and the more we hear of Shawn and his back. But I'll just stop and say I'll give it a B. Could have been better. Can't give it an A.
I give it a B plus. It was 20 minutes and 8 seconds. I loved the intros. It was back when they would show the wrestler walking in the hallway in the back.
Oh god!
So in the background, it was like a dung 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 dung, like a heartbeat. I loved it.
Yes.
And I loved the setup and the way they set everything up. And Austin came out, and that pop was like, holy shit, man!
Yeah.
He's a star. And when he walked out, I was like,
when it happens,
his walk.
Lose their mind.
Even though I knew this was his night, in my mind, I was still saying this has to be his night. God damn. I thought the match was fantastic because I knew how hurt they both were. Austin was never the same after he got dropped on his head by Owen that summer before. And Michaels, you could believe what you want. I think at the bare minimum, he was a beat up wrestler, like all wrestlers get. He's a great salesman, right? So every time he acted all stiff, and when he would bend over, he would straighten his back and just use his knees. Like people with that, and he picked shit up, and he looked ginger when he did everything, but yet he took a backdrop over the fucking top rope on a Triple H, and then he would get up and act all. But you know what though? In all honesty, like maybe he was really hurt, and maybe he just didn't know how to. He didn't know how to politicize it in the back. He didn't know how to be like I don't know what word I'm looking for. He just didn't know how to do it gracefully, and I think he acted like Craig said it best. Everything was about him. He's the first wrestler to ever get hurt. Don't you know? Like he's the first wrestler to ever, fall out of favor with Vince. I'm not even saying he fell out of favor. I just think, you're not, and it's weird how people like to separate Hogan from Michaels, because Michaels always likes to think that he fought hard to get out of the Hogan era. You were kind of worse than him. Like Hogan never let his performance be affected. Even though Michaels' performance was top notch all the time, he always threw tantrums, kicking Vader, doing all that other stuff. There was always
I remember that.
He'd get mad when his pyro didn't fucking go off. Hogan would never be caught dead, breaking character and acting like he hated where he was. And so it's funny
if he was going to go over
this
this night and then strangely win it the next night, because the Austin era was going to be inevitable. But let's say he did politic and Michaels was going to escape with the belt. Would he have worked the back like he did tonight?
I don't think Michaels ever knew how to work the back. I think that especially after Hall and Nash left, which they were professional shitsters, and I don't think Michaels was. I think Michaels knew how to surround himself with people that protected him. Hunter was the sober thinker.
Well,
he didn't party. He didn't party. He didn't do any of that stuff. He loved wrestling, and so he would talk sense into Michaels. What you need to do.
By work the back, I mean, like, would he use his own back as an excuse during the match? Would he have tried to sell his own back injury if he was going to go over?
I maybe
at
think
Mania?
that he tried to, and I maybe think that Vince is like, "We'll see you in Boston, and you're going to give the title up. And if you want it to be 30 seconds, it can be 30 seconds. But look at it: an almost crippled Austin and a quote unquote almost crippled Shawn Michaels, 20 minutes.
That's
a good point, Jess.
Yeah,
but Craig, I have to say, I only disagree in the sense that I love the work in there. Like they were fucking going at it. I loved watching Austin and Shawn wrestle, and especially the fast shit at the beginning when Michaels. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, you fucking faker. Like when he was like taking fast bumps and shit, he bumped fucking hard, like on everything.
The first 5 minutes, and
it was all great. And even Austin, their outside shit. Like just even when Austin, because he's slipping on the goddamn baby powder the whole match, and like, but even when they kind of messed up on the outside, like Austin went to run him across the ring and probably throw his face into the little table that had the bell on it. But you saw Shawn almost sell it, but Austin was behind him because he was watching for the cables, and then Michael stopped, and then they reset, and he threw him into the guardrail, and I was like, that's two professionals. Like, that's all that is. Like, they both realized, Michaels realized that the movement was off because he wasn't even looking at Austin. Austin was grabbing him by his hair, so he felt Austin's tension, and he felt Austin was behind. So Michaels is like, I'm going to not throw myself on the table. I'm going to wait for him to catch up, and then I'm going to go on the rail. And it did look like a flub, but I was like, it would have been way worse with anybody else. But those two guys are so good at what they do. Yeah. So I'm way more appreciative of that stuff. Like where I'm like,
that's fair.
Austin
that's fair.
Fucking getting in the ring and his legs were draping over the ropes as he got in the ring because he really couldn't lift his legs. Like, and I'm like, God damn, man. Like Austin was so beat up, it was hard to watch. But I didn't like the ending. I hated Tyson getting in there and counting the pin because the whole storyline before here was Tyson joined DX like 3 weeks before. Yeah. And then so you thought, oh my God, they stacked the deck. He didn't do anything against Austin in the match to make me think that Tyson had him in danger. So if you're going to do that, why do any of that shit? I don't mind if they tried to throw a swerve and put Tyson in DX. That's fine. But what should have happened was I'm a big fan of the granular 1, 2, 3 with a ref. I wanted the Dave Hebner 1, 2, 3 to give Austin that title. Instead, Tyson gets in there, and he's not a pro ref.
I think
Tyson goes 1, 2, 3 like real fast.
He might have been overexcited.
Dave,
that's why you don't have them do it.
I totally agree.
I agree with that.
I totally agree with you on that. But that's what I mean. I wanted the professional ref cadence and all that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then afterwards,
that.
Tyson could have slid in the ring and looked at Michaels like, some you win, some you lose some. And then Michaels could have been like, you're supposed to be on my team. The whole reason why you joined DX is because I had you out here for my insurance policy. And then don't get in my face. Don't do it. And then they could do the punch thing. Like, That's all they had to do. But instead,
Why
they
you
just
doing
like, again, Vince Russo wants to book a swerve into a swerve into a swerve. I didn't like that Tyson made the count because I felt it robbed Austin of that.
You could
1,
argue that
2,
maybe
3,
they
that
had all
big
that
grand
going,
killer 3
and
count.
Tyson just wasn't as good of an actor as they wanted him to be.
That too.
Right.
That too.
And by the way, for new people that are just listening to this, I'm a Shawn Michaels advocate, and I still believe that he's probably the greatest all-around in-ring performer.
Okay, Dave. Anyway, what's the ending of our podcast?
He's definitely the greatest bumper. He's a bump machine.
Wait,
Greatest bumper
I
of all
feel like
time.
we've gone off the deep end.
All right,
here.
so
You didn't end
we
it.
have gone way over. You have to cut this down. Rapid fire.
Which part are you gonna
Grade-
cut out, Jess?
What grade do you give it? I give it a C+ for the whole pay per view. Rapid
Me
fire.
too.
Craig, what do you got?
I give it a C+, and I put the next night on Raw. They hit the major reset button, and the rest is history.
Attitude Era. Craig, rapid fire.
Yeah, I'll give it a C. Yeah, it was just bad, except for the epic nostalgia of Michaels, Austin, and Tyson.
Nostalgia.
Like the
There you
energy
go.
was great, and the storylines I actually enjoyed. But yeah, I felt like a lot of the in-ring performances, I was like, I wish that was a better match.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Undertaker and Kane.
For, they always do. For audio fans, give a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, or Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. Can you do us a solid on social media and give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019 or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast? This is Dave, Jess, and Craig with the O.W.P signing off. Have a good one.